Hello and welcome to Wired In. I'm Diana Galata with Hampton City Schools. I'm so pleased today to be joined by Elizabeth Cromartie, our new principal at Forrest Elementary. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
So you are not new to the principalship, but before we get into that, let's talk about your background. Where did you grow up? Where did you go to college? And then where did you start your education career?
Sure. As most of the kids gather really quickly, I have an accent that's a little bit different than Virginia because I grew up in Tennessee. And though I've been away from Tennessee for a very long time, the accent just kind of stays. I went to school, college in Tennessee for 3 years, and then I was able to graduate when I lived in Naples, Italy, and so that was quite the experience. When I came back to the States, I taught high school social studies in Newport News, and then in 2009, I graduated with a master's in ed leadership from the College of William & Mary. And I started my administrative career in Isle of Wight and worked at Westside Elementary, where I really learned the tenets of early literacy, which allowed me to come to Hampton as a principal at Phillips Elementary for 4 years. And now I've moved to Forrest, the place to grow.
So we're very glad you're at Forrest, and we're glad that you're with us in Hampton City Schools and not another school division. We're glad you came to us. And now that you've been principal almost 3 months, I guess, at Forrest Elementary, tell us what you like about it and what you've learned.
Well, I've learned so much. It's a larger school than Phillips, so I have 100 more students to learn and about 10 or 12 more faculty members that I've gotten to know over the last 3 months. So that's what I spent a great deal of the summer learning, was all about my faculty and what's important to them. And then as this month of school has been underway, getting to know the families and getting to know what's important to them. And so that's what has been great about the last 3 months at Forrest.
So tell us, what do you like best about being a principal?
Oh, goodness, you've got me with a really hard question. Every day is different, and that is a really great part of it, but I guess I could answer that with one word, and that one word would be breakthroughs. The children have breakthroughs when you're in the classroom watching the teachers, and you see them really get the aha moments. And then teachers have breakthroughs when you're sharing something with them, and sometimes they might not buy it, but when they do, you really feel that special part of your heart light up as a principal. And then you'll have families who, you're the new principal, and they have to get to know you because everybody's personality is different. And so breakthroughs with families as well. So that's my one word.
So now that you've been a principal at Forrest for a few months, talk to us a little bit about the goals that you have for your staff and for the school as a whole, academic-wise and other goals.
Well, the great thing I'd like to share with you before I answer your question is that Forrest is fully accredited, and so maintaining that momentum is the greatest goal, and most specifically to really keep riding that reading wave, keep early literacy at the forefront so that kids are learning to read. We know Hampton's goal is 95% of third graders by 2020. Last year, I'm proud to report the school achieved 90% K2. So those are things I'm really proud of. Coming on board and really owning that with the staff and keeping that momentum in student success is what I have in mind.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first year Forrest was not fully accredited last year. So this is a new achievement for them and will be very important for you as their new leader to keep that momentum, because sometimes it's harder to maintain once you reach that.
That's correct. The staff and I really talked over the summer about, we have March and April pushes for SOLs. How do we start the year with that momentum and that push so that there is not a need for March, April push? You're really just getting in there, doing the strategies that worked to get us over the hump so that it's really just a year of success and continuation, because yes, that is the fear of maintaining that accreditation.
So you mentioned early literacy, you have that in your background, and then you mentioned that in terms of the work at Forrest. So tell us a little bit about what that might look like in a classroom. So if I'm a parent expecting to visit my child's classroom, or I'm working with my child on homework, what does a focus on early literacy look like to a student, to a teacher, to a parent?
to the very youngest students, let's say kindergarten, but that's the earliest grade that Forrest serves, you would want to be looking for sight words coming home with your student, and they would be using that in some of the small group instruction. Basically, if you visited your kindergarten classroom, you're going to see a big whole group phonics component now with the new benchmark literacy that's being instituted in kindergarten, because we've been focused on word study, and that's differentiated, but now we realize that some of the pieces might be falling away, so we need some different kind of phonics instruction. And it's also going to be really important that students are always being taught K through 5 when they're with a teacher in small groups at their own level, not just grade level material. So those are things that are very important to that early literacy foundation, is making sure we're building phonemic awareness, we have phonics components, and that we're learning our sight words and then learning to read by grade 3.
So as a parent, what could I do at home to promote that early literacy piece?
That's a great question, because we just had our open house and we sent home readers for parents so that they could have tips that they could do. Asking good questions is a really great way to help your children. Reading along with your younger readers, reading to them and then having them read back to you, because hearing you read fluently and well helps them learn what a fluent reader is. And then asking those questions helps with that comprehension piece of literacy that's so important. And you can make those questions up, like what were the main characters in the story, what's the main idea, things that you remember from your own instruction when you were a child that you can help your children with as well.
So what about math? I know you didn't mention math, but I know math is an important component for us. So what are some things that you all are doing in the area of math to improve the academic achievement in math?
Well, that's another question that we had this summer in our leadership team, because we were talking about how when you emphasize so heavily on one thing, sometimes the other thing, it may continue to grow, but it doesn't grow as much as you might like. And so math had kind of become that for us. Reading fluency was up, math fluency, meaning my ability to say 1 + 3, and for you, Diana, to say 4, just right away without using my fingers. And so that's a huge emphasis this year during our intervention times, where we're actually doing some of that math fluency work and working to make sure that students can do timetables with automaticity and adding 1 to 9 factors with automaticity.
So I'm going to change gears for a second. So what if I were to build a house right there across the street?
Okay.
And I had a kindergarten student who was zoned to go to Forrest, and I came to visit you. What would you tell me about Forrest that would provide some confidence in terms of enrolling my child there?
Well, I think the biggest thing all of us principals can do when we're selling our schools is to take the families on a walk around your school, because you can feel the spirit of a place, the culture of a place. And so I think the best way to instill that faith in a family is to let them see the good things that are going on. Sitting in your office to share it is not the best way, but letting them feel what you're doing for kids every day is really how you're gonna get that family's heart.
And I visited Forrest on the first day of school, and I experienced that great family feeling. In fact, many of the teachers spoke to me, and one of them actually sent me a really neat video that you all had done to introduce the staff to the parents, and we actually put it out there, and it got a lot of play. So I think things like that are really important in terms of building that positive culture. So tell us, what do you think is the most unique thing about Forrest?
I think they are a family. The staff members, they're willing to just pitch in and do whatever it takes for any student. First grade is tied into understanding that they are also responsible for accreditation, even though by the public's viewpoint that's gained by 3rd through 5th grade scores. There really is a sense of ownership, and that we're all going to help in this, and that's why early literacy is so important. We're not waiting for readiness. We're making sure it's happening at that foundation.
So before we close today, is there anything else that you would like to share about Forrest or about you or the division? Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, I think I'll just share the story. We were getting ready, and I said I had a really heartwarming moment on the day 3 of school when we had an assembly. And during pre-service with the teachers, I had used a call and response for when we'd come back from staff development, and I would say, "So what do we know?" And they would call back, "Forrest is the place to grow." And I began to use that in announcements. And on day 3, with the whole school in front of me, I said, to get the kids to calm, "So what do we know?" And they all resounded with, "Forrest is the place to grow."
Well, it sounds like you're doing some great things over there.
Thank you, Diana, for having me on.
And thank you for watching Wired In. Have a great week.